I'd just like to say that Carole and I are absolutely delighted by today's announcement.
Well, I'm not sure what I'm able to bring. It's what all these very brave ladies tell me. It's seeing is believing.
In the royal world, where everything is planned and every word is carefully picked, no one saw this coming, especially not Queen Camilla. Carole Middleton, Princess Kate's mother, who was once seen as quiet and not very involved in royal matters, has made a bold choice that brought Camilla to tears, and it's causing a big stir inside the palace. But what could Carole have done to cause such a strong emotional reaction? Join us as we unravel Carole Middleton's surprising decision that made Queen Camilla shudder. Carole Middleton and Queen Camilla. Before the world watched the grand royal wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton on April 29, 2011, everything seemed picture perfect on the surface. Smiles were shared, greetings exchanged, and the royal and Middleton families stood together for family photos. Carole Middleton, Kate's mother, stood beside Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, smiling politely like everyone else. But behind those polished smiles, a different story was already quietly unfolding, one of growing tension and quiet discomfort. Carole Middleton, the daughter of a builder and a shop assistant, had once worked as a flight attendant and before that at John Lewis, a well-known department store. She didn't come from royalty or wealth, but she and her husband Michael had built a comfortable life through hard work and determination. Their party supply company, Party Pieces, had become a big success, allowing them to give their 3 children a top-notch education and a stable, happy life. Carole took pride in what they had achieved, a life shaped by effort, not privilege. But inside Buckingham Palace, tradition ruled everything. Not everyone was thrilled about a woman from a working-class background becoming so closely connected to the royal family. As Kate and William's relationship grew more serious, Carole began to feel subtle changes. At royal events, some people welcomed her warmly, but others made her feel like she didn't belong. Cold stares, awkward silences, and being ignored in conversations became more frequent. She once said it felt like she was invisible, a message that didn't need to be spoken aloud. In contrast, Camilla came from aristocracy. She had been born into a world of titles, traditions, and high society. She knew the rules of royal life inside and out, and some say she spoke often about the importance of knowing your place and respecting royal lineage. To her, class and heritage mattered. Carole, with her cheerful middle-class ways, didn't quite fit that mold. As the royal wedding approached, the quiet tensions only grew. Carole hoped to include a few personal touches in the ceremony, little things that would show her family's warmth and make the day feel more meaningful for both sides. But most of her suggestions were gently, or not so gently, brushed aside. Even small things like flowers or parts of the guest list were taken out of her hands. The message was clear. Her job was to smile, nod, and stay in the background. After the wedding, the tensions didn't go away. They simply became quieter and deeper. Carole started noticing that her time with Kate was becoming more limited, though Kate handled her royal duties with grace and composure. In public, Carole saw how heavy the burden was behind the scenes. Their visits became fewer, and their private moments were often canceled or interrupted. Even Christmas, once a cherished family holiday, became a struggle. Royal rules demanded that Kate and William spend Christmas at Sandringham with the royal family, and it was a hard adjustment, not just for Carole, but for Kate too. She was now caught between 2 very different worlds: the cold, formal world of royalty and the warm, familiar world of her own family. Then, in July 2013, Prince George was born. As a loving and experienced mother, Carole naturally hoped to help and be close to her daughter and grandson. But once again, the palace had its own ideas. Professional royal nannies were chosen, strict rules were enforced, and Carole's dream of being a hands-on grandmother was quietly pushed aside. Some believed that Camilla had a hand in this too, that she supported the idea of keeping the Middleton influence at arm's length. By the time Princess Charlotte was christened in July 2015 at the Church of St. Mary Magdalene in Sandringham, the cracks in the relationship were more visible than ever. Carole had planned a small, private celebration after the official ceremony, something quiet and meaningful for the family. But at the last minute, her plans were reportedly overruled by Camilla's office, leading to confusion and disappointment. What could have been a tender family moment became yet another reminder of how carefully controlled her role had become. And so, behind the palace walls and the perfect public smiles, a quiet rivalry continued to grow. It wasn't built on loud scandals or dramatic confrontations, but on years of silent rejection, subtle slights, and the constant struggle for a place in Kate's increasingly royal life. Carole, once the heart of her daughter's world, found herself slowly being pushed to the sidelines, not with cruelty, but with coldness that spoke louder than words. So, what did Carole Middleton say that could have hurt Camilla so much? Let's find out. Carole Middleton's shocking statement. When Princess Charlotte was christened in 2015, everything seemed calm on the surface, but not long after, something quiet and meaningful began to take shape behind the scenes. A change in Carole Middleton's approach to royal life. What had once looked like a gentle effort to keep peace between two very different families, the hard-working, self-made Middletons and the centuries-old royal institution, slowly began to turn into something more intentional and firm. For years, Carole had done her best to fit in. She smiled politely, stepped back when asked, and accepted being kept on the sidelines. But deep down, she had been feeling increasingly shut out, not just as a mother, but as a grandmother. Eventually, she made a quiet but powerful decision. She would stop trying to belong to a world that didn't truly welcome her. Though she never made a public fuss, those close to the royals began to notice Carole's absence. Where she had once stood proudly beside her daughter Kate at public events, she was no longer seen. Her absence wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, graceful, and very deliberate. She wasn't rebelling. She was simply choosing to protect her dignity, to reclaim her place on her own terms. The road to this decision had been long and difficult. Ever since Kate married Prince William in 2011, Carole had been trying to find her footing in royal circles, a world that was not only unfamiliar but also often resistant to her presence. The royals had their own way of doing things, and Carole's modern, down-to-earth values didn't always fit in. She didn't crave attention, but just by being there, strong, independent, and successful in her own right, she challenged old ideas about class and status. By 2013, when Prince George was born, tensions had quietly grown. Carole had hoped to be a hands-on grandmother, but royal rules made that almost impossible. Nannies, protocols, and tight schedules stood in the way. Her offers to help were often ignored, and spending time with her grandchildren became something she had to negotiate. Her attempts to bring a sense of normal life to her daughter and grandchildren were constantly met with pushback. This wasn't just a case of social class differences. It was about control. And while Carole was being kept at arm's length, another woman who had once been an outsider, Queen Camilla, was becoming more and more comfortable within the palace walls. Once known as the other woman, Camilla had been fully accepted by the royal establishment and now stood firmly inside it. Over time, she reportedly became a strong voice for tradition, urging the family to stick closely to royal customs. According to some observers, Camilla saw Carole's presence as a threat. A quiet competition had begun between the two women. Both were mothers, both fiercely protective, but they came from opposite worlds. This tension became even more visible in November 2018, at Prince Charles's 70th birthday celebration at Buckingham Palace. The Middletons were there, as usual, keeping a respectful presence. But behind the elegant setting, something happened that deeply affected Carole. While mingling with aristocratic friends, Camilla reportedly made a comment about the importance of family heritage, saying, in so many words, that old money mattered more than new success. No names were mentioned, But to those who knew the family dynamics, the meaning was clear. To Carole, it felt like a final insult, a reminder that no matter how hard she had worked or how lovingly she had raised her daughter, she would never fully belong. That moment was a turning point. Carole didn't react publicly. She didn't complain. Instead, she quietly began to step away. She stopped trying to be part of royal traditions, stopped offering suggestions, stopped hoping for invitations. Instead, she focused on her own life, her business, her community, and most of all, her family, in the ways that were still available to her. But behind the scenes, Carole was paying close attention. According to people close to her, she began keeping notes, carefully recording every time she was left out, every canceled visit with her grandchildren, every event that went on without her. She wasn't being petty. She was protecting her side of the story. Through her wide network of business and social contacts, built over many years of work, she also began hearing things, not gossip, but bits of information that revealed how power worked behind palace doors. Some of these discoveries were small: extravagant spending, curious changes in charity funds, strange overlaps between personal comfort and official duty. But Carole, organized and discreet as ever, saw the bigger picture. She understood that these details mattered. By early 2024, the quiet tension between Queen Camilla and Carole Middleton was starting to become visible in public. At a school concert for Prince Louis in March, royal watchers noticed something odd. Carole and Camilla, once photographed standing side by side, now stood at opposite ends of the room. There were no smiles, no greetings, not even a glance exchanged between them. Prince William, ever the peacemaker, was seen moving between them, trying to keep the atmosphere calm. But the distance was clear. This wasn't just about that one event. It was the result of years of silent struggles, quiet slights, and unspoken rivalry. And yet, through it all, Carole never broke her silence. She never gave the press a story. She taught her children to value grace and respect. Still, the emotional toll was heavy. Seeing other royal grandparents, like Camilla's, welcomed with open arms while she struggled for simple time with her grandchildren was deeply painful. Kate tried her best to keep both sides of the family connected, but her royal duties made that harder and harder. Over time, Carole's world, once closely linked to her daughters, began to feel more distant. Since Kate became a royal in 2011, she had taken on many public roles and responsibilities. Through it all, Carole stayed in the background, offering steady support. But now, her slow withdrawal from royal life spoke louder than any headline. It wasn't a retreat. It was a quiet protest, a way of saying she deserved to be treated as more than just a polite outsider. She wasn't asking for a title. She was standing up for something much deeper: respect. As 2024 went on, palace insiders began to notice a colder tone in how the Queen treated Carole. Staff who had once warmly helped coordinate Middleton family events were now more reserved. Invitations became fewer. Conversations felt more formal. Even Kate, who had always managed to walk the line between her two worlds, began to show signs of emotional strain, caught between her royal role and her love for her family. But behind the scenes, Carole kept doing what she had always done: paying attention, staying composed, and documenting the quiet ways the palace maintained control. For her, it wasn't just about personal hurt anymore. It was about legacy. She didn't want the story of her family to be told only by palace insiders. She had raised her daughter to be strong, compassionate, and wise. And now, as Kate stood at the center of a changing monarchy, Carole was determined to make sure the values she had passed down wouldn't be lost to royal tradition.